this lesson, we're going to be dividing polynomials, and this is actually going to be our part one. There will be a follow-up with more complicated problems, but right now we're going to be working with monomials and binomials. And just looking at my problems, here is an example of a monomial, and down here is an example of a binomial. So when I'm looking at what we're going to be doing, I thought it was really important to review dividing rational numbers. So remember, when we divide, and I just gave you rational numbers, fractions, a positive and a negative, but when we're doing this work, it's like working with fractions. We keep the first, we change the sign to multiplication, and then we do write the reciprocal of the second number. So let's work this problem together. So I'm going to write it a little bit further over here. I'm going to copy the negative 3/4. I am changing my sign to multiplication, and then always the number, binomial, whatever we have after the division sign, we are going to write the reciprocal. Well, we know that we could multiply straight across and get a negative 48 over 28, but I know you've probably learned, I'm hoping, that you can simplify before you multiply straight across. So I can find common factors that are across from each other. And I know 4 and 16 does have a common factor. The greatest one is what we'd like to have. We're going to divide 4 by 4 and we get a 1. We're going to divide the 16 by 4 and we get a 4. So now I'm dealing with much smaller numbers, and when I go ahead and I multiply straight across, remember this is a negative 3, I get a negative 12, and 1 times 7 is 7. So that is my answer. I could change it to a mixed fraction, but it is not always necessary. If it was a mixed fraction, we know that that would be a negative 1, and when you do 12 minus 7, it is a 5, so negative 1 and 5/7. Either one of these are acceptable answers because this is in simplest terms. All right, well, we're going to use keep, change, flip for every one of these dividing polynomial problems. So I like to mark my text. There it is. And now I am going to recopy this 18c cubed, and I'm going to put it over 1 because it's like a whole number. I'm changing my sign to multiplication, and now I am going to flip or write the reciprocal of negative 27c over a negative 4. So my negative 4 is now my numerator. My negative 27c is my denominator. So I want to see, can I simplify before I multiply? And I'm looking at this, and I see the 1 and the negative 4, that answer is no. But when I see an 18 and a negative 27, I know that I can divide by 9. 9, I think, is the biggest. So 18 divided by 9 is 2. And negative 27 divided by 9 is a negative 3. Well, now I also see that I have a c, which that is to the first power, and I see a c cubed. So the greatest common factor between these would be just c to the first power. So this one actually is gone. We cross that one off. And c cubed, now we have to take 1 away, is c squared. So the numbers that we are actually dealing with right now, I'm going to circle this. I have this, I have this, I have this, and I have this. And now I'm going to just multiply straight across. So 2c squared times a negative 4 is equal to a negative 8c squared. And 1 times a negative 3 is a negative 3. Well, when I look at this problem, it definitely is in simplest terms. However, since both of these are negative, we are going to write our final answer as being positive. So it's 8c squared over 3. And there is your answer in simplest terms. Okay, so that was not, too bad. We're going to go ahead and you know me, I like to separate my problems. Okay, brain is now done with this. Moving on to the second problem. Again, I have a keep this, change the sign, and write the reciprocal. So let's go ahead and start with that. So it's 36 over 45x. Change this to my times sign. And if that's going to, I would, you know what, since we have an X there, I'm going to put a dot for my times sign. So now I'm going to write the reciprocal. So it will be 5 over negative 9x. If we choose to multiply straight across, we're going to get really big numbers. So I suggest that we actually do go ahead and simplify. And when we're going to do that, let's look at, we can start with a 36 and the negative 9x. Well, they don't have an x in common, but I know 9 does go into 36 4 times. So 36 divided by 9, not a negative 9, just 9, is equal to a 4. And negative 9 divided by 9 is actually going to be equal to a negative 1. Okay? And now I am going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to see, can I simplify anything here? And yes, I'm loving it. I can use my 5 because 5 is a common factor of 45. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. And 45x divided by 5 is 9x. So now, as I am looking at this problem, I'm going to circle the numbers that I will actually be multiplying so that I can see everything. And there's an X up there, so I'm actually going to bring that X down. So I have everything in my circle. So it's easy when I go multiply straight across. So we have our 4 times a 1 is 4 over 9x times a negative 1x is going to be negative 9x. And remember, when we multiply, we add the exponents, so it's negative 9x squared. This form is correct, but most people will write it. If you see that your fraction is going to be negative, it's kind of best practice to put that negative sign out in front when you're finally done. So there is our second binomial division problem. All right, let's look at the third one. We have 25x squared over 10x divided by 5x over 10x. So keep, change, and flip. Let me bring this squiggle line down for us. And when I am doing that, it's 25x squared over 10x, and that is just a 2. My pen kind of stuck there. And I'm double checking that I copied it right. Times, now I am going to write the reciprocal of the 5x over 10x. So it's 10x over 5x. Again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to simplify. And when we simplify, I'm going to start with this 10x because I know that, wow, they have 10 and they have x in common. So these just turn into 1s. It's going to make our problem a lot easier. And now I am looking at my 25x squared and my 5x. So let's deal with the numbers first. I do know that 5 divided by 5 is 1. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. Notice they also do have the x's in common. So the greatest common factor between this will be our x to the first power. So this cancels out, and x squared minus a x to the first power is just going to be an x. Loving this problem. I'm circling everything that I ended up with so it's nice and clear. And I see 5x times 1 is 5x. 1 times 1 is 1. I mean, I could write it that way, but 5x, and that is a 5, got a little bit of curlicue there, is our answer. Now we're getting to, in our next problem, where we have a monomial and we have binomials. But not to worry, because we're going to be thinking about this x plus 5 as being just a factor. So let's do our keep, change, and flip notation. And now we'll rewrite this so it's x over x plus 2, keeping it the same, times, oops, and I'm going to put that, and I did use that x there, but I could have used a times sign so that didn't confuse you. X over x plus 2, and now I'm going to write the reciprocal, so it's x plus 2 over x plus 5. All right, well, this one doesn't seem that bad now that I'm just looking at it, because this is like one factor, and this goes together as a team. You cannot break them up. So now I see that across from each other here, I can divide x plus 2 is the greatest common factor. So this whole thing just turns into a 1. When you have identical factors across from each other, you end up just having 1s there. So now notice I have an x across from an x plus 5, but this is considered 1 unit. So this cannot be simplified. So I'm going to circle what I have to multiply, and x times 1 is equal to x, and 1 times x plus 5 is just x plus 5. And this is your answer in simplest terms. Remember, because this comes together and it's not multiplication between it, that x cannot be simplified. That is your answer. If this video was helpful to you today, please add a like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more Math with Marcia. See you again soon.